What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. I am your host, Niall. This is Wednesday. It's your usual mix of pro wrestling weekly, kind of mid-weekly. We know TKO has launched, listed on the stock exchange, launched yesterday. We're going to be talking about TKO. Want this to be a real interactive show. Chats will get stuck in there. A couple of OGs are already in the building. Let's see if a few more load up as well. We're going to be talking lots of stuff tonight. We're going to be talking about Nick Khan's comments on CM Punk, what that means. We're going to be talking about N Bex T. We're going to be talking about that as well. Of course, TKO. We're going to be talking about the return of Nia Jax. We're going to be talking about the SmackDown broadcasting deal that's coming up. Lots to get through tonight. Morris did a great interview the other night with Just Joe Legend. He had some comments on there. We're going to be chatting a little bit about that. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We're going to be talking about Will Ospreay's after getting some new ink. We're going to be touching on the Netflix docu-series Wrestlers. I watched the first episode today. I think we might run a little review series on that. We'll get a few episodes into it first, though, before we do that. But it looks really, really good. Chronologically looking at OVW and Al Snow and all that kind of stuff. But it looks really good so far. We're going to be talking about Click This Podcast. Kevin Nash has plenty to say these days, and no less about CM Punk potentially returning to WWE. And we're going to be talking about main event Jay Uso, and we're going to be sharing our thoughts on that, where we think it's going, what we think is going to happen. No less. And of course, we're going to have our usual midweek mix of pro wrestling history for this week, some gems in there this week, and we'll be dropping some notable birthdays. So that's it, folks. Strap yourself in. Let's get ready. Let's go to our OGs in the comments first and see who's in there. Ian is in the house. What's the crack, Noel? All good, my friend. Glad to see you in there. Sean is in there. Howdy, Noel. Relaxing after my first day in college. Looking forward to the show. Sean, let us know what you're doing in college. Let us know how it's going. Like the sound of that, my friend. And Eno's in. The deal is now finalised. I believe that they might be redesigning all the title belts. Don't know about that, Ian. I didn't hear anything about the title belts, but we do have plenty of information, and we'd like to know from you guys in the chat as well. What you think? What does this mean? Are we going to eventually get crossover shows? Are we going to get crossover talent? What is going to happen? It's going to be interesting. And another OG in the house, Daz Reynolds. Noel, any AEW news or WWE news? We have loads of WWE news. Daz, not too much AEW news, but plenty of commentary about CM Punk that should fill you up all the same. What's the crack, Noel? All good, Daz. Sean's in. Music and sound production in Cavan. Nice, Sean. Like the sound of that. Very good. Excellent stuff. Hopefully nothing too morbid in the history section. I don't think there is. There's one or two, because I don't think you guys would allow me away with it if I didn't have one or two in there, of course, because that's just the nature of the business. But I don't think it's too crazy. But from what I can remember, there's not too much in there in terms of morbid. But let's get into this. Let's start. Where are we going to start? We're going to start with this woman's return, coming back, looking trimmer than when she left. I know she's been training a lot with Charlotte and stuff like that. Myself and Darren were having conversations about it during the week. What did you make of Nia Jax's return? Comes out, takes out Raquel Rodriguez, and then takes out Rhea Ripley. I don't know about you guys, but my heart was kind of in my mouth looking at this kind of stuff, because we know Raquel is only back from the knee injury, and we know that Rhea Ripley is not someone that WWE want to get injured at the moment. And we know that Nia in the past has a little bit of history in terms of opponents getting injured. And Rhea Ripley right now, who is hot as the lava that flows from a volcano, the WWE can't afford to lose her at the moment. Let us know in your comments, what did you think Nia Jax's return? Uh, Sean's in. Horrible way to start the news. I thought I'd get that out of the way. First of all, Sean, you know me. There's plenty of good stuff in there. Yep, the titles are getting redesigned. Interesting. We'll see what way that goes. That should be interesting. The bloodline. Yeah, absolutely. But that's Nia Jax for you. We'll get that out of the way now. Um, where do we want to go next? We're gonna talk about CM Punk. Sean's in. First of all, before we move on, she's so reckless and has the charisma of a urinal tablet, but I'm kind of willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Sean, how many women have you bumped into to have the charisma of a urinal tablet that you've given the benefit of the doubt to? But we shall see. Look, she's back. She's a destroyer. Let's see what happens. Certainly going to be interesting. Let's talk about Phil Brooks, the CM Punk. Nick Khan was talking. He was asked a question, I think it was through ESPN or something like that, about the potential return of CM Punk to WWE. And he mentioned, this is quoted, listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and what he tried to do with the UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best. More than a few, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. Good on you. Good on you. What did you think of this quote from Nick Khan, folks? Did you get the feeling that CM Punk might be coming back? Did you get the feeling that things are nice and cushy in WWE at the moment? So they don't want to rock the boat. They just want to keep things the way it is. And they don't want to cause any waves, let's say, to that calm business that they're doing at the moment. Everyone in the company seems relatively happy. There seems to be a good atmosphere in there at the moment. 9 billion reasons have just been dropped on it with the TKO deal. Is this where you want to drop a CM Punk into this situation? Let me know your thoughts. Sean is in. Nick Khan can hardly say shit about him after the unveiling of the merger, but I still don't see him coming back. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think looking at that, I think the key thing in it says when you have respect for Phil, wish him nothing but the best. That sounds like, that's like what they say at the end when they wish them the best with their future endeavors when they let someone go, isn't it? That's it. Do you think he will go to WWE if he does Survivor Series in Chicago? Yeah, they put a lot on this, don't they? This, it's as if sometimes when we talk about shows in Chicago and we talk about wrestling in Chicago and stuff like that, everyone seems to think that it either surrounds CM Punk or should be about CM Punk, or that's the way it should be, and that you can't actually go and do a show in Chicago unless you include CM Punk, and that you get that way from the Chicago fans, stuff like that, and I get it, local boy and all that kind of thing and stuff like that, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think I'm not sure. I think if they do touch him, and we spoke about it last week with Darren as well, I think it'd be pretty short lived. Yeah, I think it'll be come in to maybe close the final chapter on a career that I would say should have been so much more. Should have been so much more. And listen, that's coming from a guy who's been a CM Punk fan. I think his own temperament and situation, and obviously the paranoia and everything that kicks in with being involved in the wrestling business, I think he stepped over dollars to pick up pennies. I think he made a mistake. But we shall see. But yes, Survivor Series in Chicago could happen, Daz. I'm not saying it won't. But I don't think WWE, in terms of their booking and stuff like that, put too much on that kind of thing. And if he doesn't go back to WWE, I'd also have no issue with him going back to UFC. I don't see him going back there. He's definitely not going back to UFC. That is definitely not an option. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you put your mortgage on. I don't see him going back to the UFC. That was an absolute disaster. And listen, hats off to the guy and the height of respect for getting in and climbing into that cage and doing what he did. But it didn't work out, and it wasn't them. It should have never been his world. But hats off to him for trying it. CM Punk could get his shopping in Chicago, and the IWC would lose their shit. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing. So look at what happens when he's backstage talking to someone at a WWE event, or look what happens when he's met, like even last week when it broke about him being terminated and stuff like that. And the next there's pictures out there where he's having an old gab with Bradshaw and Farouk Ron Simmons, at that Cauliflower Alley event and stuff like that and all. And everyone's going, oh, look, they're talking him into coming back and all this kind of thing. Look, it don't work that way. Sean said, "Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I don't want to see him near UFC again unless he's hosting a watch party." Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. All right, I was looking at it going, "Yeah, like 100%, spot on, Sean." I was thinking that's what you meant. All right. Ian's in. Tony Khan only fired CM Punk, but I do think WWE they might take a chance on Phil Brooks. It's a huge chance, Ian. There's a lot of people in there at the moment don't like the guy. Legit don't like the guy. If you listen to Seth Rollins talking about CM Punk, as far as Seth Rollins is concerned, CM Punk is like a cancer on the business and stuff like that. And he ain't the first guy either. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. I think if it is, it's gonna have to be managed very, very carefully and stuff like that. Because the problem with him is once he throws the toys out with the bathwater, all of a sudden you're standing down the barrel of one of those tidal waves out of San Andreas or something like that, and it's there's a nice environment there at the moment. It's ticking along, there's no crazy stuff going on at the moment. I am an absolutely nothing but respect for him, but he should have done the regional circuit before UFC, and he was thrown in with a killer and racist, but that fight got overturned. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing about it, Sean, even on the regional circuit, I looked at him in the UFC and like he just didn't have the skill set for it. Sure, he didn't. He really didn't. I know he tried and he did the jits and he was training with the Gracies and he was training with lots of different camps and stuff like that and tried to, and like hats off to him for trying it and stuff like that. But when he got into the octagon, there was nothing really there. Like, and you think about it, the level at which he fought at. Mickey Gall was one of them, wasn't it? Mickey Gall isn't, middle to top level in the UFC anyway. So yeah, you'd swear Punk is a war criminal with how much say hates him. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy. I think because I'd say probably with Seth Rollins. I'd say Seth Rollins is one of those Zen guys, isn't he? I'd say Seth Rollins is one of those guys who everything just needs to calm down. It's all good, all that kind of thing and stuff like that. And then Punk comes in and it's just like opening up the door of the washing machine. And that's just an environment. I don't think that's an environment Seth Rollins wants to be around. I think Seth Rollins now, married man, you know, baby, the whole lot, all this. They have the motor home on the road and stuff like that. I'd say the amount of meditation that guy does and probably yoga and all sorts of stuff. I'd say there's candles everywhere. He's like a proper messiah kind of thing. And I'd say Punk would just turn his world upside down. And maybe that's what they want from a storyline if those two could work together. But I'm thinking that could end up like the Bucks and Kenny. That would be my thinking. Punk has less losses than everybody with a title in the UFC right now. Food for thought. Yeah, but he has a few years on him, Sean, doesn't he? He has less losses than everybody with a title in the UFC right now. Yeah, most of those guys in there though with titles are killers. They're killers. You look at Strickland there last week, was it? That guy is a lunatic. He is a picnic hamper short of a ham sandwich, and he is a murderer. Murderer's row. What those guys would do to CM Punk, there should be laws against it. There should be laws against it. McGregor has lost 3 fights. Punk has lost 1. Yeah. But tell me this, Sean. Okay, if you're Nick Khan, right, and you have an opportunity to bring in CM Punk or bring in Conor McGregor, you know what I mean? When you think about, we're talking about the sphere of sports entertainment now and stuff like that and all, you know what I mean? McGregor is just now, maybe it's a different story. Let's see what happens, but absolutely, we'll take a look at it and see what happens, But yeah, I don't know about that. Someone in new backstory battle league. Yo, OG, let me get on your panel. Drop the link. We can talk wrestling. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll drop it in there in a few minutes. Just want to cover a bit of stuff first. Sean's back in. 0 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest. You're beating this record drum, Sean, aren't you? You're beating this record drum. Yeah. Backstory. Punk McGregor and John Jones invading WWE would be fire. Imagine. We are going to talk about that during the discussion on TKO. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Sean is in. Strickland is an animal. When he rocked Izzy the first time, my heart stopped. Absolutely. That uppercut he hit him with as well on the inside was just ferocious. And then clipped him with an overright as well. Scary, scary stuff. It's mad. It's mad when you see those fights, isn't it? When you see Israel in there, and he's normally fearless, and he's normally beating guys with his mouth before he even gets in there. And then you look at a guy like Strickland who goes in there with absolutely no fear, has no regard for his own safety, just goes in on the inside against Israel and absolutely lights him up. Scary, scary, scary stuff. Absolutely. Then again, Phil Brooks could turn up for WWE and CM Punk straight to Impact Wrestling. You love these divides, don't you? Uh, you love these divides, eh? Sean, I'd bring Punk because I can't guarantee Punk would be put into the Brawling Brutes if he got signed, unlike Connor. Can you imagine Conor McGregor in the Brawling Brutes? Just imagine that. How crazy would that be? Sheamus, McGregor, done. Oh my God, the craziness. Sean's looking for John Jones versus Omos. Good Lord. How's Omos gonna make heavyweight? That'd have to be one of those matches. Like, remember, that'd be like Big Show versus Mayweather. Remember the 24? How crazy was that? Uh, and the backstory Battle League is back in. Say less, OG. You the goat. Cheers. And Daz, I think Tony Khan has something for Perry coming pay per view. I'm telling you now, there is no issue with Jack Perry and AEW. He was, without a doubt, the Lee Harvey Oswald of that situation. He was used to use the situation to get the other lad out with just cause so they wouldn't have to pay him. There's great things ahead for Jack Perry and AEW. Make no mistake about it. The more I think about that situation and how they absolutely led Punk by the nose down into that situation, is absolutely crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Strickland wasn't even meant to be the main fight. He was back up for, yeah, I know. I thought it was really bad matchmaking initially, but Strickland killed him. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Sean, did you see the reaction of Dana White? Like like the gritting of the teeth while wrapping the belt around him. My God. Roman Reigns versus Charles Oliveira. Good Lord. Oh my God. Roman Reigns versus John Jones. Imagine that. Now that's one. Now we're talking. Colby versus The Miz. There's matchmaking for you now. Listen, we're already all getting very excited about this crossover stuff and all. Remember when they turned around and mentioned this Endeavor deal first, and they turned around and they said, "Yeah, look, we're going to keep them as separate entities and all. There ain't going to be any crossover. We're going to run them as two separate businesses under the Endeavor umbrella and all this kind of thing." Look at us on here going crazy. Colby Covington versus The Miz. The battle of the mics. That'd be Eminem 8 Mile level. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Dana said that is really stupid sport, and he's right. Can't wait for the card on Saturday. Yeah. Did you see his reaction? I don't know if you've seen his reaction. One of the CEOs in there, I can't remember his name now. I seen it today on Twitter, but he said that he wants to bring all the wrestling fans into the UFC sphere, and he wants to bring all the UFC fans into the WWE sphere. And Dana White started laughing his balls off, going, "I hope the guy was misquoted." He says either that or he's a lunatic or something like that. Dana was just laughing, laughing, laughing. Volkanovski versus Seth. God, we're doing some serious matchmaking here. We might do a little show on this, will we? Do a little sort of UFC, WWE. We'll put together like a Mania style card, but with crossover and see what comes over. Backstory is back in. Amanda Nunes versus Becky Lynch. Don't sleep on Becky Lynch, by the way. If you know Becky Lynch's background, Becky Lynch has a jiu-jitsu background, and she was also heavily involved in stunts and stuff like that. So Becky's a proper athlete. Now, she might not be a killer like Amanda Nunes, that's for sure, but certainly, I wouldn't sleep on Becky's jits. Becky knows her jits. Don't worry about that. Imagine the mic work from Colby in LA Knight. Oh, good Lord. Good Lord. Are we reaching Rock Austin levels here? Are we? Are we touching Rock Austin levels here? Colby is a lunatic, lunatic. LA Knight might need to rock up with a little bit more than He might need a little bit more than that up against Colby because Colby, when Colby goes in, he cuts deep. He cuts real deep. I'm a hardcore fan of both, but the UFC fans won't give the WWE the time of the day. And I think I can say the same about WWE. Do you know what it is, Sean, though? What they might do is, because they're kind of operating in the same, they're vying for the same time in terms of people's, free time entertainment, if you like, and stuff like that. You might see crossovers. You might, in the next 5 years, not necessarily see crossovers between talent, but you might get a UFC title fight on a WrestleMania, or you might get, a big WrestleMania match or something like that, maybe on a UFC or something like that. They'll have to figure out how to do it and stuff like that. But I think you will see some sort of crossover. Punk versus Mike Jackson 3. Akira Tozawa versus Chris Mateo. Jesus, we're going deep tonight. The UFC fans would hate WWE because it's not just all kickboxing. Yeah, imagine trying to bring those fans together. Now, there is obviously a crossover. We've even identified it through the shop and stuff like that. There's always been a crossover. Uh, uh, but it's mad, like, it is really, really crazy and stuff like that when you think about it. And trying to merge the two of them together. I've always been a fan of both. Um, and it's even crazy. I remember back in the day when we started this journey of MMA stuff in the store and stuff like that. Those guys used to come in and they'd frown about it. And some of their friends would come in if they were coming in to buy shorts or gloves or whatever it is. Some of their friends would come in and go, they go, oh, that wrestling stuff, John Cena and all that, and then after a while they softened to it a little bit and they were kind of like, yeah, the kids into John Cena and stuff like that. So then we got Paddy was a great one. Paddy Howland. Let's shout out to Paddy Howland. I love Paddy. Paddy used to come into the shop and he pick up a few MMA bits, and the son was mad into John Cena. So you get the son a few John Cena bits, or the son might be with him and stuff like that and all. But it was just laugh, and it was gas. Each different type of fan as well will come into the shop and go, is that thing over there still a thing? And the wrestling fans will come in and go, is this UFC still really a big thing and all this kind of thing, So there'll be shots fired and stuff like that, but really, really good crack. Yeah, just give me a minute. I just got to get through stuff. I will drop a link in so people can come in after say if they want. You're more than welcome, anyone who wants to come in onto the show as well. All right, drop the link now, OG. Will be the best tag team in podcast history. Fun fact, 15% Irish. 15% Irish. Nice. What's the other 85%? Give me the other 85%. You can't just give me 15% Irish. Give me a breakdown. Sean's in that WWE UFC crossover stream sounds like gas crack. Would love that down the line. Yeah, absolutely. We'll do like a super card of honor. And what we'll do is we'll do matchups. Maybe we'll do 10, 12 matchups. We'll do maybe say 6 men's and 6 women's, or 8 men's and 4 women's, or whatever it is. Just a bit of crack. Sean's in hologram Kimbo Slice versus hologram ref. red and yellow Hulk Hogan. Good Lord, Hulk Hogan. R.I.P. Kimbo Slice. Remember his videos? They were crazy. Remember him in The Ultimate Fighter? He wanted to kill Brandon Schaub, remember? Would love a Pride FC, WWE, UFC event. You're not asking for much now, Sean, are you? Pride FC, WWE, UFC event. Oh, I know what you're talking about. In a ring, yeah, in a ring, like the old Grand Prix and stuff like that. I get you, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Or you could always have it. You could have it like the way they do the cage matches, where the cage just gets lowered from the ceiling and stuff like that. You imagine the UFC guys in a ring with a cage around it and stuff like that. American Top Team versus the Bloodline. Who's going to win that? That's got to be the American Top Team are going to win that, aren't they? Did anyone see the India show? I didn't see it, but I heard decent reports. Unfortunately, Becky couldn't make it over the passport issue and stuff like that, which was very, very disappointing and stuff like that. But just goes to show, bounced back this week and had a good one. WWE versus UFC War Games in my regal voice. Yes, like that backstory. That's good. Nice. War games. Imagine that. Let us know who the teams would be. Who are you putting on your teams? Give me a 4-man UFC team and a 4-man WWE team. And we don't have to go weight restrictions around like that. Just a bit of fun. And Ian is in. LA Knight takes a shot at Kevin Nash. Yeah, that's only mild. When do you see what Kevin Nash had to say about CM Punk later on in the show? Absolutely crazy. Yeah, so that's it. So doesn't sound like they're in a hurry to bring him back. Not saying I'd rule it out, but they don't seem to be in a hurry. Let's talk about this lady becoming a Grand Slam champion. The last lady of the 4 horsewomen to do it, of course, with Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky, 2 belts, are now known as NXT, which I thought is really cool. Bex is kind of cool and Becky's kind of cool, isn't it? Because you can kind of crowbar it into any of these things and create these great slogans. What's your thoughts on this, folks? Going down to NXT, winning the belt off Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany's probably going to get called up now and stuff like that, but I think it's really cool. So I'd imagine some wrestlers, if they were sent back down to NXT or went back down to NXT, maybe might have a problem with it and stuff like that, like a demotion kind of thing and stuff like that. But we've seen when Balor goes down there, some of Balor's best work was down there when he returned back down and stuff like that. He was electric. And now we're seeing Becky going down there now with the belt and stuff like that. So she's only going to do amazing things down there. But I'd say it was important to her as well to pick up that belt. The other girls had it. She hadn't completed it. Now she's a Grand Slam champion. So hats off to Becky. Absolutely fantastic. Let us know what you thought of Becky becoming a Grand Slam champion, picking up the NXT belt and becoming NXT. Really, really cool. Quick chat about SmackDown. SmackDown. It looks like Fox are not going to pursue it. They're looking at about 300 million plus for this deal to go down. It doesn't look like Fox want to go and proceed with the deal at 300 million. So the talk at the moment is that it's looking like it could end up on Amazon or Disney. Seem to be the 2 companies in contention for Friday Night SmackDown. Just getting water there. Let us know your thoughts on this. How would you feel about SmackDown moving to Disney or Amazon? Amazon getting really big in the sports world at the moment, looking to do a lot of stuff at the minute. Sean's in. Roman, Brock, Cena, Gunther, and Gable versus Jones, Fedor, Volkanovski, Gaethje, and Islam. Jesus. There's Murderer's Row, isn't it? Murderer's Row. Do you know what I was thinking as well? When I was thinking about this TKO deal there the other day, I was thinking, Tito Ortiz must be absolutely going mad. Like, imagine if Tito Ortiz was still that big deal and stuff like that, and the smack talk and everything and all that. Imagine Tito. That would have been unbelievable, incredible, just unreal. Would have loved to see Tito in there, the Huntington Beach bad boy. Imagine that. Backstory reckons it's going Amazon more than likely. Yeah, they seem to be really making moves in that sports and entertainment arena. The amount of documentaries and all they're doing and the coverage. You have Premier League games over here now. I think they have about 1 or 2 games a month or something like that. They do them on the Fridays, I think it is, or something like that. And they're making serious moves into that sports arena and stuff like that. But I suppose there is links there, isn't there? Links with Disney as well with Nick Khan. So who knows? Maybe that might be where it goes and stuff like that. But I would assume Amazon could be a big one for them and stuff like that. But I suppose on the flip side of it, probably disappointing to see Fox not coming back in, but the money is absolutely monstrous at the minute. But yeah, it should be interesting. I still wish we got the boxing match with Dana and Tito. Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine? And here, listen, don't sleep on Dana either. Dana's well able to look after himself as well. That guy can box. I'd say Dana was looking forward to that just as much as well. But Tito, yeah, imagine having now Tito, Chuck Liddell, Ken Shamrock. Who were all those crazy talkers back then? They were kind of the main ones, weren't they? Chuck, Tito, and Ken Shamrock. Ken, eh? Imagine that. Those guys must have wished they were born probably 20 years later or something like that to see all this unfold. Imagine the fun they would have. Imagine Tito Ortiz coming out just winding lads up the way he used to. Absolutely crazy. Acer's in the building. How are you, my friend? SmackDown is going to be moving back to Tuesday nights after the Fox TV deal expires, and NXT moving back to Wednesday. Interesting. Who do you think it's going to go, Dazers? Are you thinking Amazon, Disney? It looks like Fox don't seem to want it. Chael Sonnen too. Yeah, imagine Chael Sonnen. Yeah, and you can imagine, like, when you think of some of the great stars in the UFC, you think of someone like, say, George St. Pierre, GSP. GSP would never make it in the wrestling business. Sure, he wouldn't, because he's just too nice a guy and he's just a little bit dry. You know what I mean? He's just a little bit dry. He just lacks that bit of personality that would sell you. But absolute killer in the octagon and in the ring and stuff like that. But you just can't imagine, because we're thinking about this now in terms of sports and entertainment and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you can see even the way it went in waves and stuff like that. You can see some of those martial arts who have gone into the UFC and stuff like that. They've taken some of that pro wrestling stuff. Look at McGregor. They've taken a lot of that pro wrestling stuff, the Vinnie Mac walk and all that kind of stuff and all. And that's what's really propelled them and stuff like that. A lot of the interest that's happened, even though the fights were brilliant and stuff like that, a lot of it was a lot of the shit talk and the crap that was flung before the fights. You look at McGregor and how he broke ground in there in the UFC. There was thousands and thousands and thousands of fans just attending weigh-ins, thousands of fans just attending press conferences. This was unheard of in the UFC, you know what I mean? Now look at it and stuff like that, And it's a good time for the UFC in terms of this merger as well, because although some of the fights and all are brilliant and stuff like that, but I think the saturation of how much stuff they give us now has kind of diluted it down a little bit somewhat. Sean, let us know your thoughts on that, because you're still a big UFC fan and stuff like that, like myself and stuff like that. But at times, I think sometimes it's just a bit too much. Brett never really had much charisma, and look what he did. GSP is a legend. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Brett was unbelievable as a technical wrestler. Yeah, that's a great point, actually, Sean. He sailed to the top as well. He never had much charisma. And look at, do you know what it is with Brett? Actually, I don't know whether Brett did Brett lack. There was probably something charismatic about Bret Hart, wasn't it? The fact he was probably the most charismatic person. That kind of way. There was still an aura about him. There was still a presence about him and stuff like that. Probably similar to GSP, I suppose. ESPN already have UFC TV deal, so it would make sense to have same companies and same channels. It might actually make more sense to not have them on the same channel, because you're broadening out your audience, that kind of way, because there'll be people over there that are just ESPN, that way in terms of sports and stuff like that. So maybe by having it spread out a bit more, it might work better, the boom that Conor brought was magical, wasn't it? Unbelievable. When you think about where it was and where he took it to and stuff like that, and he just called out everyone, he just crapped everyone. The Diaz brothers, that's what I'm thinking. Bring in the Diaz brothers. Imagine that. Imagine the Diaz brothers assembling a crew for a War Games. Those boys, Jake Shields, Mendez, all those guys. Just imagine. And then you've the other one as well. What's it with the guy who fought McGregor? What's his name? Chad Mendez and his group as well. Uriah Faber and all. You could do some really cool little teams and stuff like that. UFC is kind of overwhelming to keep up. It's lovely looking forward to Saturday, but the start times are rough, and the Apex is a terrible venue. But when it's good, it's the best sport in the world. Yeah, absolutely. When they hit it, they really hit it. But yeah, it's just yeah, they need to figure out something about the times of like. I think TKO will be doing UFC and WWE pay-per-views in different countries on same weekends. Interesting. You think they might run together? You think they might run against each other, racers? That's an interesting. I think they might look at that schedule and they might kind of alternate a little bit. But then who knows? If they're going to run them as two separate entities, like they said, makes sense. The card on Saturday is really good, though. Grasso and Shevchenko for the title in Mexico, and also has Kevin Holland and Kevin Holland. There's a murderer there now. That's a crazy card, but not every card is like that. Yeah, well, I suppose when you're pumping out as much as they do, I mean, the one thing about WWE is we get it every week and then we get the pay-per-views, but it's a repetitive roster. Whereas this guy, Dana's trying to pull fights together, and guys after fighting obviously need time and stuff like that, Richie did, or Ian, did you see the segment with The Miz when he was supposed to be interviewing John, saying, yeah, it was quality. Henry's in. What's the crack, pal? All good, Henry. Good to see you. And Sean's in. Pay-per-views are always consistent, though. Yeah, absolutely. 3 a.m. start time is no good. Yeah, it's a killer, isn't it? It just wipes you out. Hopefully the pay-per-views go back to Ask WWE. I mean, yeah, hopefully the pay-per-views go back. Yeah. And Henry just popped in to give you a like and a big up chat. Appreciate it, Henry, as always, my friend. And Sean. Also, sometimes the grappling is masterful, and other times it's really suffocating to watch. Yeah, it is when it's the grappling is when you've got two really high level guys and you can see what they're trying to do and you understand a little bit. It's awesome. When it's just messy, it's just. I don't know if you've watched any of those jiu-jitsu tournaments in Abu Dhabi and stuff like that. Some of them are really, really good, but some of it is just weary. Um, I'm good. I have a live at 9. Good luck with that, Henry. Drop the link in there if you want people to pop over after the show or whatever. Drop the link in there. Let them know where they can find you and what you're doing. Sean, because of the Apex, they're wasting great fights there, and it gives them an excuse to put on boring cards there with not having to sell arenas. Yeah, it's different. That might change though now. That might change now. I think they're going to be looking to get out there into places. They might be able to go out into markets now, markets where WWE is entrenched in those markets and has good contacts and stuff like that. So the one thing they did say about this merger and coming together is they're going to be sharing a lot of stuff, a lot of shared services. So, technology is in there, the knowledge base in there. Look at the knowledge base in WWE in terms of touring around America and around the world is absolutely massive. And they can leverage that as well, the UFC and stuff like that. And likewise, the opposite way as well. Daz, hi Henry, hope you're well today. And Sean, also worth noting, UFC are with ESPN and they charge 80 for pay-per-view, so hopefully that doesn't come in. It's not going to come in. It wouldn't come in for us anyway. So because we have the network, but also could damage it a little bit in States. But I think the pay-per-views in the States for WWE are really pricey as well, aren't they? I'm doing good. Thank you, Daz. Are you good? I think the WWE pay-per-views, I think WrestleMania in the States is like $100 or something like that, is it? From what I read before. I wish it would change, but it's 2023 and it's still being used. Imagine WWE announced next week's Raw would be in the Thunderdome. You'd be ragging. Yeah, absolutely. I am a bit Henry. So there we go. We've caught up on our comments. I'll drop the link in if anyone wants to come on and talk about TKO. And what it means, what's going to happen and stuff like that. We'll bring you on and see how you feel about it. That's the link, folks, if anyone wants to come on and give their views on TKO as we're going down through it. I got down through some points at the moment. Looks like Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso looks like he's on, we seen what happened with Owens. So it looks like he's on the path. Something going to happen there with Drew McIntyre, I'd imagine. A couple of matches are coming up in the next few weeks. But also there's talk at the moment that he might end up meeting Jimmy at the Royal Rumble. Don't forget, WWE today just announced the Royal Rumble is coming to you 2024 from Tampa, Florida, which is going to be absolutely awesome. One that I'm considering going to because I'm not too sure whether I'm going to get to Philly or not this year. Always live to come on your stream, Paul. Yeah, absolutely. So where are we going to start? We're going to talk about we're going to talk about a few points and then we'll talk about TKO because I think it's really, really important. But Jey Uso looks like he's going to do big things on Raw, so I'm pretty excited to see how this whole singles thing goes. The Click podcast, this was an interesting one. WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash addressed the speculation about CM Punk returning to WWE. And he mentioned Punk booking a spot at the Royal Rumble. He said, if Punk books a spot at the Royal Rumble, I'll be on to Triple H straight away to book a spot in that as well. So it looks like he has a bit of an axe to grind on this kind of thing at the moment. He was talking about Punk could Punk have a place in WWE? And Nash alluded to the fact the 9 billion sale and stuff like that, the Endeavor, the TKO stuff, all that kind of stuff. That calm water, they don't want to be stirring it up, so he doesn't see him being brought in. And he was asking about, does WWE has an incentive to bring Punk back? I think basically the incentive is if they do bring him back, it's going to look like a win over the other crowd in terms of him coming back after leaving there or being fired, even though they kind of don't really recognise them and stuff like that. But I think the other thing that they'll find that's a bump as well, I think ratings will definitely bump. I think merchandise will definitely bump. But again, I think it's just going to have to be that's a situation that's going to have to be really, really managed well at the moment, because as things start to settle down with the merger and stuff like that and all, and there's a lot of work to be done on that. Once yesterday they announced it onto the stock exchange and all that kind of stuff. So um, they can't afford things to hit a bump in the road. You know what I mean? They need smooth rolling with revenues climbing, all that kind of stuff. The broadcasting rights, merchandise sales, growing their audience, how the crossover can happen, how they can utilize that best to generate revenue, sponsorship, all that kind of stuff. How does it fit? Does the sponsorships that typically the UFC target, do those sponsorships fit with WWE, and can they do crossover sponsorships, all that kind of thing? So that all has to be looked at. That takes a lot of work to get that right. So it'll be interesting to see what way that goes. Jimmy Acers is in. Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso, WrestleMania 40. Yeah, I was reading today they're talking about maybe doing it at the Rumble, but it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Yeah, but certainly I'm really looking forward to how both those boys develop over the next 3 to 6 months. Also, now that I'm here, it's worth noting Jay's new team is absolutely horrendous. You don't like it now? You don't like it? I think it's probably because we're just so. Is it because we're so ingrained and used to the other one? I don't think it's too bad. I think it might grow on us. It's not the worst. Daz, who do you think will win the Rumble, Niall? Ooh. Wouldn't it be mad if it came down to Jimmy and Jay? And wouldn't it be mad if they did a kind of a thing like where they both hit the ground at once or something like that, and they had to roll it back maybe, or do something, maybe go through the elimination chamber or something like that, and also that'd pretty cool or something like that. I don't really know. I'm not too sure what way they're going to run it, but that's the way. That's the way I would look at it. How I would go to probably Jimmy and Jay, the last two guys in there, and probably do it in a way where one's kind of or you could have Jimmy or Jay in there, and Roman comes in last. Well, see, Roman wouldn't come in. He's the champion, of course, yeah, so that wouldn't make sense. Yeah, Jimmy and Jay maybe the last two, and then I think it would be. I don't know. What's the feeling you get at the moment? Are they hotter on Jay than they are on Jimmy, or what are you thinking? It's hard to know because it's early days and stuff like that. Acers, looking forward to watching LA Knight versus Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel for WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. Interesting. And Gunther winning the Royal Rumble. Yeah, you'd mentioned that before, Acers. That's a great shout, actually, Gunther. Yeah, because obviously, if he drops the IC belt, then it'll be time to push him on into the higher echelons and stuff like that. Interesting. If he wins the Rumble, what do you reckon? Is he going after Roman or is he going after Seth? That's if Seth still has it at the time, I suppose. Acers Bloodline is getting a new member. Interesting. Any talk about who it might be, Acers? Any talk about who it might be, Sean? Hey, it's so repetitive, but also Jimmy's team is great, suits his character, and has little, very smart embellishes of Roman's team. Yeah, and Jimmy always seems to come across as that real. When they were doing that Usos Penitentiary, it always seemed like Jimmy was the guy that fitted that more than Jay. Jay was just a little bit more polished, wasn't he? Jimmy was just a little bit more rough around the edges and stuff like that. But yeah, that was Kevin Nash's take on CM Punk. Morris, we're going to feature Morris's podcast here now, Cheap Heat Productions podcast. Go check it out. Gunther beat Seth Rollins at 40, night one main event. Interesting. Nice one, Acers. Cheap Heat Productions podcast, they had Joe Legend on this week, and Joe recalled talking about his MMA background with Triple H when he feels may have hurt his chances in the company. He was talking about him and Triple H having a chat, and Triple H was asking, like, would you take me and all this kind of thing? And he says, you'd be out before you even hit the ground. And apparently that was the last conversation they ever had. And I think shortly after, Joe Legend was released or something like that. So it was an interesting take on it. But it's on Morris's channel there, Cheap Heat Productions podcast. Go check out that interview with Joe Legend. Very interesting. I met Joe before, actually. He was over here for a couple of shows back in the day with IWW and stuff like that. So good guy. Daz is in. Seth or Ray, me, if Seth losing the championship? Don't think it's going to be Ray. Yeah, don't think it's going to be Ray. Ray would be a huge push for that. Also talking, we had I was looking at another one on a recent edition of Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast. Matt Morgan was the guest. The Blueprint, Matt Morgan. I actually seen that guy over in TNA when I was over there once. That guy is an absolute monster. His TV doesn't do the size of that guy justice at all. He is a huge individual. He was talking about on the current wrestling boom period. Obviously, wrestling's gone through a bit of a renaissance at the moment. Business is pretty good and all that kind of stuff. But he was talking about the boom period, and he says it's good, but not pop culture level. You know, that pop culture level that you talk about with the Attitude Era and all that kind of stuff. And he came on to talk about that as well. But he also said on the popularity of wrestling in the Attitude Era, he said it was an absolutely huge draw. It was a massive draw. He remembers a time in college and all where groups of college people would get together in dorms and they'd have like beer parties and all, watching Monday Night Raw and the pay-per-views and stuff like that. Oh, that's how big it was. That's how popular it was and stuff like that. So he says he doesn't think it's reached that kind of popularity again around like it, but he says he's happy to see the business doing really, really well. So pretty cool. Good comments and all, you know, so interesting. I'll try and drop on the pod if I can. Yeah, the link is in there. It's in the chat anyway if you can. Just make sure you're on a solid connection that way because otherwise you're going to break up. And then Asus, Ray losing to Santos at WrestleMania 40 in title versus career match. Ooh, title versus career match. Interesting. Asus, you're booking it out at the moment, aren't you? Big time. Let's talk good news as well this week for a change. We've had a couple of tough weeks as wrestling fans and stuff like that. Losing Terry Funk, losing, of course, Bray Wyatt, Bob Barker, to name a few. It's been a tough 4 or 5 weeks in wrestling. And of course, our fears came back to haunt us again this weekend as well when we got word of Hacksaw Jim Duggan had been rushed to the emergency room. And we were thinking he's had a couple of health battles over the last few years and stuff like that. 2 bouts of cancer and stuff like that he has recovered from and stuff like that. So, of course, as wrestling fans, we were fearing the worst. Love Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Met him a number of times. He's an absolute gentleman. But yeah, we got news today that we got news there during the week that he's doing well. He was released from hospital. So fans' worst fears, didn't happen anyway. And it would have been terrible for a few weeks, especially if we had imagine if we had a lost Hacksaw as well, how tough that would have been, Aces again on the wrong podcast. Darwin is injured, doubtful for the Wolves game. Yeah, so I heard. I think he'd be all right. They took him off. It was just precautionary, but let's see if he would have started anyway. And then Will Ospreay, yeah, so Hacksaw Jim Duggan on the mend, and good to hear it. Yeah, love Hacksaw. Ospreay's new tattoo. Will Ospreay got a new tattoo commemorating his match at Wembley Stadium at All In against Chris Jericho. So the match contains the coordinates of Wembley Stadium, the Roman numerals of the date, August the 27th, 2023, the London time when his match with Jericho began, and the paid attendance, 81,035. That's the new tattoo that he got to. What is his tattoo? He had it wrapped up at OTT. Yeah, what it is basically, what it is it's the Wembley Stadium coordinates, so the north or west or whatever it is. The Roman numerals of the dates of August the 27th, 2023. The London time when the match began, and the paid attendance all rolled up into one. So interesting. Good seeing Mark and that and stuff like that. And it was a heck of a moment for Will Ospreay, I have to say. A heck of a moment. Acers, looking forward to watching Daniel Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream on Sunday, 1st of October. Now, that's going to be a match. When we talk about technical matches and we talk about technical brilliance, Daniel Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr., that's going to be an absolute education in it. That's someone coming in here in the background at the moment. We bring him on now in a minute. We bring you on back in a minute now. Just want to finish out one other thing. And like I said, the Netflix stock series that started Wrestlers features OVW and stuff like that. Al Snow was pivotal in it and stuff like that. Looks like it's going to be really, really good and really enjoyable. I suggest go check it out. It's on Netflix now. I've watched episode 1, which is pretty entertaining, I have to say. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Once we've got a few episodes in, we'll start doing reviews on it and stuff like that. So finally, in TKO, Ian's in the background here, so I'm going to bring Ian in.
How's it going?
What's up, my brother? How are you?
All good.
Good, good. What you thinking on this TKO merger?
Uh, should be should be interesting.
My thoughts on this at the moment. This is a picture that people will be talking about in 20 years' time. Look at the loading on that stage there. Dana White, Triple H,
Definitely,
Vince
definitely.
McMahon, Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro. Look at the people that are on that stage there for that launch of TKO on the stock exchange, and the belt
It's
as well.
stacked,
Represent.
stacked, stacked
Yeah,
roster.
absolutely. That's the stacked, dare I say, managing and financial roster of this whole thing, which is absolutely massive. Now, on the back of this, the boys got a nice little payout. So the following WWE executives received bonuses as a result of yesterday's
Yeah.
closing of the Endeavor acquisition. So Nick Khan received $15 million for his work. Kevin Dunn received $7 million. Triple H received $5 million, and Frank Riddick received $5 million. Nice little payout for the boys for their work on the merger and stuff like that and all.
It's
Pretty
all
good.
money.
Absolutely, it's all about that and this is going to be, as I said, this vision, this picture here is going to go down in history. This is one that people are going to be referencing. Remember when we found out Vince had bought WCW? Remember those images? This
We
is
do,
this
yeah.
is one of those. This is a watershed moment for sports entertainment. So it's going to be very interesting. We've already spoke about the crossover stuff, so there's no doubt. And it was interesting when they played the video yesterday for the promotion of it. In the video, you had the likes of McGregor was in there, Khabib was in there, Israel was in there, all the talkers, John Jones, all those guys were in there and stuff like that. So it was interesting that they were cherry picking out the guys who are the most smack talkers and stuff like that because they're really pushing this whole sports entertainment thing. Nick Khan, with regards to talent crossover via ESPN, he says you also see in the UFC people with big personalities who, once their UFC run is done, and the fighter says, "Hey, maybe now it's time to call it a day." Could those people have a longer life at WWE and extended life with TKO? We think so. So what he's thinking there is, he says you can have a fight career that maybe lasts up until you're about, I mean, if you're lucky and you keep yourself well, maybe 35, 40-ish kind of thing. But after that, you might be able to go into the UFC. I'm thinking of guys like Daniel Cormier, who's a huge pro wrestling fan and stuff like that and all. So he might have been able to forge a career in WWE at that time when he was backing out of the UFC and stuff like that, which would have been really cool. But certainly there's an opportunity there. There's always been talk of McGregor going into the WWE at some stage. The self-promotion of that guy is just unbelievable. Imagine him on WWE TV. Imagine
Yeah.
McGregor versus the Miz on the mic, or McGregor versus some of these guys would be just absolutely crazy.
But there
Go
has
ahead.
been a lot of sorry for disturbing there. A lot of smack talk in McGregor saying this and that, and you know wrestlers and fighters, back and forth. I don't know why to put it.
Yeah, well, we've seen Conor McGregor having a go off John Cena and stuff like that. You're a pumped up you're a pumped up 50-year-old and all going around. We can see you and all this stuff and all. Acers, Will Ospreay is on AEW Grand Slam Dynamite next Wednesday, setting up his Wrestle Dream match. Yeah, can't wait. Look forward to that. Will Ospreay's just an outstanding athlete, isn't he? And
Oh, yeah.
Joe versus Strong. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You knew that. Joe versus Strong. That'll be interesting actually. Very
Oh,
interesting. Another piece of news that came in was this one on the merger as well. Per the Hollywood Reporter, Endeavor expects growth in domestic and international media rights for UFC and WWE. It also plans to create more content, increase the number of live events, boost premium hospitality revenue, and bolster sponsorship licensing. Now, when I read into this, Ian, what I really read was it's pretty expensive being a wrestling fan. And I think it's going to get a whole lot more expensive. We've seen how the inflation in terms of going to premium live events and all has gone through the roof. I remember going to WrestleMania 22. It was like $500 for the package. Now the same package is over $2,000. So inflation is massive in this area. But these guys are going to be looking to maximize revenue in all facets of the business. So we can expect, I'd imagine, a rise in the cost of subscriptions of the network. I think we're probably going to see quite a hefty rise in the cost of merchandise and various other things like that. But what it might do is it might see us getting a lot more events outside of America. So there might be a lot more events come to the UK or Ireland or Europe or whatever it is on probably a little bit more regular basis, maybe, as they try and develop those markets and stuff like that. But what I did read when I read into this as per the Hollywood Reporter, what it said to me really was, strap yourselves in because it's going to become way more expensive to continue being a wrestling or a UFC fan, because obviously things are going to begin to cost more, obviously, when these things happen. So that was really it.
It's going to be a lot of talk going on, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. What else have I got? So we've got a bit of history. To run down through, and we've also got some notable birthdays, as we always have. So a few bits of history to run down.
Mine's happened.
Huh?
Mine's happened.
Yours has happened already, has it? Yeah.
Indeed.
Right.
Spoiled.
So we go back to 1995. WWE Raw and WCW Nitro went head-to-head for the very first time in the now infamous Monday Night Wars. On Raw, the newly turned heel British Bulldog took on Razor Ramon, and Shawn Michaels defended the Intercontinental title against Psycho Sid. Whilst over on Nitro, Hulk Hogan defended the World Heavyweight Championship against Lex Luger, and Randy Savage faced Scott Norton. That was the first ever head-to-head between Raw and Nitro. You remember it well, of course. 1997, WrestleFest 50 Years of Funk took place this week in Terry Funk's hometown of Amarillo, Texas. And of course, remember the main event, of course, was Terry Funk versus Bret Hart.
Remember that.
R.I.P. Absolutely. 2010, Mike Shaw, known in WWE as the Bastion Booger, died aged 53 as a result of a pulmonary embolism. So very sad. R.I.P. Mike Shaw. 1991, Chris Von Erich unfortunately committed suicide at the tender age of 21. The tragedy that pursued the Von Erich family, of course, Chris, being that one. Very, very sad. 2006, for the first time ever, an ECW card was held in the iconic Madison Square Garden in New York City. In the main event, ECW champion The Big Show defeated Sabu in an Extreme Rules match. Now, before anyone goes in on me here, I know well that wasn't ECW, and everyone knows well, but it was the ECW brand within the WWE wing. Lucy reading kids' books. Backstory Battle Leagues in the back of the StreamYard now. Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll check him out. We'll bring him on. Hang on 1 second. There he is. What up, my friend?
Oh, man, what's going on? My brother, how you doing today?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm having a blast, man. Listening to your podcast, man. You're doing a good job with everything. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Tell us where you're based. Where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia, PA.
Philadelphia, PA. Nice.
Yeah,
I was planning on trying to get over there next year for WrestleMania, but the ticket prices went absolutely crazy. I was over there in 2018 for the Royal Rumble. Remember Ronda Rousey?
Yes. Yeah.
Man, my friend, those Philly fans are crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes, they're the best fans in the world. They're insane, but
they know wrestling.
You mean good by it, you know.
I was at the Raw after the Royal Rumble, and John Cena came out and cut a promo, and they were giving him dogs abuse over Tom Brady and stuff like that. Cena being a New England boy, and stuff like that, and they were tearing into him, and he reversed it right on them. It's one of the best bits of mic work I've ever seen John Cena done. And the Philly fans got up on their feet at the end and clapped him out of the building. It was crazy. Good times though. Good times.
No,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
I think John Cena is a little underrated on the microphone too. I think he's
Yeah,
a little underrated, man.
yeah, absolutely. How long have you been? You been a wrestling fan all your life?
Yeah. Since I was literally 1 years old. I was born in 1987, so since WrestleMania 3. But
Nice.
throughout the years, yeah, I've been around for the Golden Era, the Hogan Macho Man feud with Elizabeth to Stone Cold Vince, all the way down to Hornswoggle being the legitimate son of Vince
Yeah,
McMahon.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. I remember that I was at WrestleMania 25 in Houston, and they had at the fan access event, they had set up a big Hell in a Cell. And
Right.
underneath it, you were allowed to go into the ring and run the ropes and all that kind of stuff. And when WWE would allow you do that thing, now they don't, of course. But underneath the ring, they had laid out all Hornswoggle's house. So his front room was under the ring, his bedroom, all this kind of stuff. And he was outside the ring signing autographs. And it was so cool, just a lot of fun. And right beside it, then they had life size, action figure boxes. So you could get into these action figure boxes and you could become an action figure. And I remember it was so cool. Just a lot of fun. That was the one. I was actually I was in a queue. They had wrestlers around the building where you could meet. And I was in a queue and there was about 10 kids in front of me with a couple of parents. They'd brought them on a trip and we were queuing up to meet. It was CM Punk and Christian. And the 10 kids that were in front of us, they were talking about CM Punk and stuff like that. And they said, but hey, who's this new guy, Christian? They hadn't got a clue who Christian was. It was crazy. And one of the guys who was with us proceeded to give the 10 guys an education on who Christian was. Christian had just come back from TNA at the time and stuff like that. It was mad.
That's hilarious. I think that's the funniest thing when like the new kids in this generation coming up watching wrestling and they look at some of these people and they be like, oh, he must be new. I never saw him. I'm like, Edge, he's been around since 97.
Yeah. So some of these kids think that wrestling started with the Ruthless Aggression era. There was no wrestling ever before it and stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool. It's good fun. We're just running down through some history here. This is how we do it, by the way. And we do a kind of a show once a week on a Wednesday where we go through all the wrestling news and the development stuff and all what happens. And then we do a little bit of history. We look back at this week in history and some events that happened and stuff like that. And then, of course, we drop some notable birthdays to finish out the show and stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool little format. It lets us look at the current stuff, and then it gives some of our listeners and stuff like that a little bit of a history lesson going back on what happened this week in pro wrestling history. So it's kind of cool. So chime in whenever you want. Anyway, the last one we did there was 2006 when the WWE brought the ECW brand to Madison Square Garden, Big Show versus Sabu and all. And I made the point by saying I didn't believe it was the ECW brand, so don't come at me in the chat or anything like that.
No. This version is literally the dollar store brand of ECW. It's nowhere close.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we have to say, this week as well, our thoughts, prayers, condolences, and everything we can send goes out to all those people because of 9/11 and stuff like that. And also, we always think about them at this time of year. It's never forgotten as well. Which leads me on to my next point, which was 2001. WWE presented a live edition of SmackDown from the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. The show was originally supposed to take place 2 days earlier, but was postponed due to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. We remember it well. Unbelievable. I remember Lillian Garcia and all singing the national anthem and all that kind of stuff. It was
that was
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
1999 on an episode of SmackDown, Vince McMahon defeated Triple H to become the new WWE champion. The win made the then 54-year-old McMahon the oldest WWE champion in history. He would go on to vacate the title the following Monday. Remember, they were going through that crazy booking phase and stuff like that, where titles were just flying all over the place. Mad stuff.
Once Russo left, he was really throwing things in the wall, hoping it sticks,
Yeah, it was kind of like jot down some notes quick to put a show together kind of thing. That never sense checked anything at that stage. 1998, Jacqueline defeated Sable on Monday Night Raw to win the vacant women's championship. the first champion since the belt was infamously thrown into the trash by Medusa on WCW Nitro. Yeah, so that was interesting. Back in 1998. I actually met Jacqueline in 2000. I was over at the World. Remember the World WWE in
New York City,
New York, in Times Square.
Yeah.
Jacqueline was in there with Big Show, and of course the menu was all WWE characters, and I remember that was my first. That's where I got my first Mick Foley hockey shirt. Remember the Mankind blue and grey hockey shirt they did? That's where I got my first one there. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, 2010, WWE officially announced in a press conference that effective immediately, Linda McMahon was resigning from her role as chief executive officer in order to run for the U.S. Senate. That was a bad move. That was an awful waste of money.
Yeah. That was definitely a bad move.
Absolutely. 1981, Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes in Kansas City, Missouri to win the first NWA World Heavyweight Championship. 1981. Man. I'm old enough to remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. 1981.
1981, yeah. I was 1981. I would have been 9 or 10, I think. Yeah, 9 or 10. Okay. There you go. I don't know. It doesn't give the month. Just 1981. I can't go that deep.
You wasn't born or put in diapers.
Yeah, absolutely. Going around with your homemade belt around the nappy. All cool, yeah. Absolutely.
The cardboard cutout.
That's it, made off the back of a cereal box.
Exactly.
2017, really bad. Legendary former wrestler, manager, and commentator. One of the greats, Bobby the Brain Heenan, passed away at the age of 72. Massive loss to the business, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh, nothing like him, man. Nothing like him.
Yeah, absolutely. In 1990, during a taping of Wrestling Challenge, the model Rick Martel appeared on the Brother Love show and ended up spraying Jake the Snake Roberts in the eyes with the Arrogance cologne. This was the start of who forgets it? That was the start of a feud that culminated in that blindfold match. I wasn't too excited about that blindfold match, to be honest. Between the two at WrestleMania 7 the following year, yeah. That blindfold match was just ridiculous.
I don't think they'll have one of them today. They don't think they'll allow a man like that today, you know?
Absolutely not. Let's finish out with some notable birthdays. And we have some serious notable birthdays this week to go through. Not that most of them aren't. But of course, Paul Heyman's birthday is this week, 1965. The man, the wise man, celebrates his birthday this week. So I hope Roman is treating him well. Let's see what happens there. A man who I absolutely adored, one half of the Road Warriors, Road Warrior Hawk, sadly who passed away, but his birthday this week, 1957. And one half of the Beautiful People, Angelina Love, 1981. I always feel awkward when I'm doing the women's ones and I give out the years. It's kind of weird. I know women are kind of a little bit weird about that kind of thing with their ages. Baron Corbin, 1984. And of course. Yeah?
No, I was joking around. I said the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, 1947 for the player himself, Teddy Long. How are you, player? All good. And of course, a man who was featured recently in Dark Side of the Ring, 1954, the brilliant Adrian Adonis. That rounds out our notable birthdays for this week. D Money, anything to add on this TKO? What you thinking?
Long overdue. I would say that. I think this is a good turn for wrestling in general right now. I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do from a creative standpoint, because I kind of got an idea what they're going to do from a business standpoint already. But from a creative standpoint, that's what I'm interested in. Like, from what I'm watching, are they going to go a little Attitude Era-ish? Are they going to, spice up the content? You know what I mean? What's that? My fault.
No, sorry, I just interrupted. Sorry. Go on ahead.
I'm fine. No. But
Hey, kayfabe is clearly dead in Acer's house. The arrogant spray was filled with water. How dare you, Acers? You're after ruining so many people's thoughts on that situation now. Now, go ahead, D Money.
But yeah, I'm interested to what I'm going to be seeing on my TV moving forward from this TKO merger. You know what I mean? But it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing who they're going to push moving forward. Like I already know Roman, Cody is the upfront guys, but you know what I mean? I want to know from their perspective who they're really interested in pushing and who they see as a star moving forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what level of interest it is, what comes on our TV screens. Yeah. Or it's just like a coming together where they can share kind of intellectual kind of technology kind of stuff and synergize that kind of stuff and reduce the cost of their background base and all that kind of stuff and all. Or are they really interested in really, pushing the brand onto the next level and stuff like that? It does seem at the moment that it's a brilliant time at the moment, not only to be a wrestling fan, but the way the wrestling business is going, it's on the up again big time. And you can tell because a lot of the older guys are coming out doing a lot of podcasts at the moment going, it's still not the attitude era, but it means they're doing something right and it's getting better because they're feeling a little bit kind of, dare I say from their era, a little bit threatened about how good things are going at the moment.
Right. Yeah.
They always talk about pushing the limits, don't they? In the WWA, Vince McMahon, pushing limits. Yeah, sorry, definitely show me your head now. Almost there.
Nah, you good.
They've $21 billion of reasons to push the limits this time, though.
Yeah. Now is TKO publicly? Is TKO a publicly traded company or what?
Yeah, launched yesterday they launched it on the stock exchange yesterday. I actually have the there it is there. I was saying earlier. This is the picture we'll remember in 20 years' time going, that was the moment. I was saying, remember like when McMahon announced he had bought WCW and everyone was kind of going, yeah, but maybe, or they was indifferent. This is one of those moments again where people are going, yeah, this looks pretty cool, but what is it going to mean and where is the focus going to be? And, is there going to be a lot of crossover? What way are they going to deal with? How are they going to manipulate markets? All that kind of stuff and all. But certainly they must have a huge plan. They've obviously done a lot of work. But I was saying earlier on the show, when you look at that there at the stock exchange in New York, from a management and a financial point of view, in terms of sports and entertainment, that is as prime as it gets sitting in that stand there, Ari. Dana, Triple H, Shapiro, Vince. It's a who's who of business. These guys don't mess around. These guys are dealing in billions and billions. You know what I mean? It's a different world. But yeah, crazy stuff.
Talking going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, listen, folks, that's it. Another show in the bag. Thanks, of course, for joining me. Day Money, you're welcome anytime. We do these on a Wednesday and stuff like that. So pop on anytime if you want to chat about wrestling and stuff like that. You're more than welcome. And also, and anyone in the chat's more than welcome to jump on. Sometimes I get a little bit bored just talking to myself on the screen, so it's good when everyone jumps on and we have a conversation about it and stuff like that.
Free on wins.
Absolutely.
No. We definitely appreciate it. It's hard to find pro wrestling podcasts that let the chat people up. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard. Me and my friend searching all day. We got our own podcasts and stuff like that. Yeah. But we don't have a strong enough audience yet. So I just,
Yeah, send me on the details. Send me on the details. You get me out there. You'll get me out there on Twitter, the upper tier. Hit me up there on Twitter, or if you want, or we're on Instagram as well, the upper tier. Hit me up there if you want on Insta.
Yeah. I'll talk about some things and whatnot whatever.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what we can do. Let's get those numbers up for you and stuff like that and all, Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate it. Look, great show. Great meeting you, Richie. Salute to the chat.
Right. Cheers, man.
I'll be listening in the future, man.
Awesome. Really appreciate the support as always. Yeah. So before, let us know what's the channel. What's the oh, he's gone. There you go. So as always, folks, brilliant show as always. Yeah, I really enjoy talking about pro wrestling and stuff like that. So on our Wednesday nights.
To all the smack talking going on, back and forth. I mean, going with when McGregor on Twitter, took to Twitter and what was it, Lesnar retaliating, and who else was that? Roman Reigns and all, and so on and so on.
McGregor and Cena as well had a little bit of a spat and all that.
Yeah, now our proportion was,
Yeah, no, it's going to be really good. Well, until next time, folks, make sure you drop a like on the video. Appreciate everyone in the chat as always. We will be back next Wednesday with another show as pro wrestling evolves at sports entertainment and the dust settles on TKO, and let's see what's happening with AEW as well. Plenty of good stuff coming up there as well. So if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, of course, and drop a like on the video, and we'll be back again real soon. Cheers. Cheers, Eno.
On out.